Well, hello again. I'm gonna quit saying that one day. I just think it's funny. Anyways, it's been a few days, or a day or so, or two, since the last time I made a video. And man, there's just so much stuff that I would like to cover with everybody. Like, I believe that one of my purposes here on this earth is to help people deal with narcissist psychopaths, sometimes just narcissists. There's different levels, all the way from a beginner to an ultra narcissist, and then you have like your medium and your great narcissist or something like that. Anyway, I've been listening to H.G. Judah. Pretty interesting fellow. Excuse me. I don't know if I'm a super empath or an ultra narcissist. HG says that narcissists, especially ultra narcissists, are not capable of feeling those emotions. Like, they're detached from, they don't feel fear, they don't, it's like they have one thing on their mind, and that's what they want to do, is get control of whatever that one thing is. And I don't know if it's just because I've been involved with several narcissists, because I am an empath and they target empaths, or am I just like them? I've been saying that for years, that I'm just like these people, and I would tell them I'm just like you. I just chose a direction and started following it, and I haven't wavered yet, and that's what's kept me going, is the seeking. And it's getting to the point now where my seeking is not enough. Like, what's the next big thing? What's the next big thing, right? It's always something. My ultimate goal in life is, if I can help it, to keep people from having to go through the pain that I've gone through, and the confusion and the loneliness and all the things that come with being the target of narcissistic people, and especially the ones that know, they know who they are and what they are. Those are the more dangerous ones. They're imitators. I think that's the medium narcissist. They're still learning, so. And you can't change them. Don't let that discount your self-worth in, thinking that maybe you can plant some good seeds in them, and maybe you can. Maybe, more than 28 now. 28 people, mostly women, that I've tried to help. They didn't want to change. They didn't even want to talk about changing. Most of them, and the ones that know what they are, they just get mad, they run. They don't want nothing to do with it. They like how they are. Even though they're playing victim and, oh yeah, I need to change my life and all this and that. It's just manipulation. It really is. There's nothing they won't do to get control of you in some form or fashion. Like, you're a source for them. Because I, for instance, can meditate and meet with my higher power, and he is the one that refreshes my soul. He's the one that renews my spirit. He's the one that gives me the energy I need to get through the day. He's the one that makes sure I have everything that I need. But, you know, it's the same old story with that is, well, if God loves you so much, then you ought to be able to, you know, stand in front of this train and like, God, if you don't want me to die, you'll derail this train. And unfortunately, you get squished because that's not how God operates. That's not how source energy works in this universe. It's not. You know, growing up in a Christian value home and in church and even private schools up until 5th grade, like halfway through 5th grade. There I go again. I was taught that I didn't really have to do nothing but just love Jesus and don't do all of these things and love people and forgive people no matter what. You know, if you see a need, fill it. My mom taught me that, you know, but that's one of the good things, you know. When I see a need, I fill it. Or maybe my mom was a narcissist and she knew I was an empath, so she just like primed me up. No, I don't think that's it. That would be terrible, wouldn't it? I bet it happens. I suppose they're our enemy because they help define us. The way that we respond to all of the crazy shit they do, that defines us. It's not life, the actual happening of life that forms you. It's your response to those things when you are in the moment. How do you handle it? What do you do? Do you fly off the handle? Do you try to, you know, go tit for tat? Or do you wait till later, you know, or start with passive aggressive, you know, things like doing all the laundry and not cleaning that person's laundry, just leaving it there, even though it was right there with your stuff. I'm not pointing out anybody particular. I'm just saying that's one thing that has happened to me before. It starts kind of like that because they're starting to devalue who you are and how you feel about yourself. And it got so bad, like I've even noticed that when I don't have a girl around, I'll start doing it to myself. I'll be up here, my energy will be high and I'll be doing great, and then all of a sudden I do something stupid or I make a mistake and it starts with my mouth, you know, or really it's right here, and I'm like, Ben, you idiot, why did you do that? You know, you're so stupid. Things like that. And then before the day's over, I'm just cussing myself, like, you know, like there's two of me and they're in a fight. And that's, you know, that's just one of the many phases. Maybe I should try and write all this down one day, but I feel like it means more if I'm just letting my higher power speak through me to whoever may be listening, or if nobody ever listens at all and it's just for my, you know, therapeutic purposes. I don't really care at this point. I just know that telling the narcissist about it doesn't seem to work. More times than not, it tends to give them ammunition against me when I'm open and honest and telling like, well, you know, that really hurts when you do that or whatever. And they're like, oh, okay, now I know, you know, one more thing I can use to hurt them, or, you know, one more way I can manipulate them or get control over this situation, blah, 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 on and on and on and on. That's all they think about. But then on the other side of that coin is me getting way too calls it emotional thinking, I think, something like that. Emotional thinking. Basically, you're not giving yourself time to react in a proper way that will defuse the situation, or at least let you escape the situation, you know, before it gets too bad. But once you're like in the whirlpool, it's too late. I mean, there's always a way out, but not if you've already been in patterns with this person. You know, that's exactly what I call being stuck in the loop. Stuck in the loop. And it's a cycle that we get into in these karmic relationships, and we just chase each other around in circles, and we try to call it moving forward. Yeah, just because you're in motion does not mean you are moving forward. That's something that you should all think about. You know, just spinning your wheels ain't doing nothing but wearing your vehicle down. You know, it could be fun sometimes, sure, but in the end, it always costs you. You get broke down, you know, impounded, and on from there. You know, I mean, think about it. It seems like there are these smaller cycles that something or someone keeps putting us through, because we're not seeing it, we're not getting it. And that's what I feel like my higher power tells me is, you know, look, you don't have to stay stuck in this lesson. You know, you could actually apply what it is that you've learned from these situations and start defending yourself. Or you could just not hang around people like this at all. You could try to start a new life and, you know, do something different. But that's really kind of a silly thing to tell me, because he knows that he wired me to, you know, these types of situations are just drawn to me, you know. And that's fine. I love my life. I really do. I got no issues with the way my life is right now. There are things that I want to improve on, and, you know, things that I want to leave behind, and it'll always be like that. But that's something I hope never changes. I hope I never get to stop learning. I hope I never get to, you know, miss out on real living, and not stuck in a little loop like that, or a bunch of small patterns that end up being one big 10-year loop. You know, like, I'm already halfway through my next loop. The first one was, you know, 10, 12 years. I'm almost halfway through it, so I think that's enough. I've given the enemy, and really that's what it comes down to, is that you really do have an enemy. There is an enemy, and there are things going on behind the scenes that you don't know about, that you should know about. And if you just sit, close your eyes, and just think, you know, or you can meditate on it and ask for an answer. Ask your higher power, your higher self, for an answer. And if you can't get an answer like that, just sit back and observe. Just go through the motions, even if it's frustrating or whatever, but don't take any crazy actions. Just try to observe best you can, and just observe. Just observe and be very open spiritually. Like when my higher power started trying to get me to step outside the box, like he's like, this isn't supposed to be happening to you. I'm trying to get you to watch what's happening to these people. And I was always trying to enter into it and be Captain Save-A-Ho or the Superman and come in and save everybody and whatever. But these are all patterns that these people created over time, and this is what they've done to themselves. And no matter how much I've tried and done the right thing and been good to people and did square business, they all betray you in the end. It always hurts. It always hurts in the end. And they have to have it that way. I've tried to just be proactive when I know the end is near, and I'll just tell them, look, it's okay. And why don't you just pack up your stuff and find somewhere to go? You ain't got to rush out of here. Just plan your next move and do it and take your next move. Because I know you're going to go. And they deny it to the very end. They will never, ever, ever accept and be accountable for a lie being a lie. They will die with the lie. That's for sure. I mean, I haven't seen one come clean yet, unless it somehow gave them an advantage over you, in which case, you have to weigh the intentions of the person. And I don't know about anybody else out there, but I know that I can feel the people's intentions. I can feel their intentions pretty quickly, right off. And most of the time I don't even want to know. I'd rather not know. But it's saved my butt so many times. And then when I end up in some stupid situation and I am gonna pay for it some way or another, I always think to myself right at that moment that I know I've screwed up, I made the wrong choice, is, damn, Ben, you should have listened. Because there's always something telling me yes, no, this way, that way, But problem is, who are you listening to? And at that point that you're actually getting this direction from a divine source, whether it be light or dark, and make no mistake that the dark does not represent themselves as the dark, at least the majority, because that would be retarded, right? It's much better to infiltrate your enemy and try and look like them, and then destroy them from the inside out. I mean, that's the best kind of victory in a war, is one that you never even had to fire a shot. Espionage and manipulation and, economic tactics, and look at what's going on in the world. It's no different. It's no different. Just everybody kind of grows up in their own little cultural area, like in Amarillo, it tends to lean towards witchcraft. And there's a lot of methamphetamine in this town. A lot. It's probably the number one money making, it's the cash crop here, I believe. I don't have any, evidence to substantiate my claim, except for I would not be surprised if it was 75% of Amarillo does meth or some sort of Schedule 1 drug, and that's probably a low estimate, I think. What else is there here? What makes money in Amarillo? Where do all these people come from, and why do they come to Amarillo? And why am I stuck in this place? Every time I leave and something happens out of my control and I end up back here. Sometimes it's a few years, sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it's and I never get to leave, That must be my higher power doing that for some reason, Anyways, and then in places like, let's just use Mississippi for example, because I know that small little area of Mississippi, and then I kind of got to know some people, and I heard about like their thing there is pills, like prescription pills, Xanax, and the school buses and the footballs and all that. What else did they? Anyway, it's like pharmaceuticals, and like everybody's on pharmaceuticals, and they're all selling each other's pills to everybody, and then when they run out before the end of the month, they're scraping, trying to get enough just so they're not sick and falling out. Like, it's crazy how and the hydro tins, yeah, that's what else they liked over there. I'm thinking, and I'm good with my weed and my beer, man. I don't think I want any of that, because I've taken them a few times and I never remember what happens, and I always cause some sort of catastrophe. So it's just never been a good idea for me. I learned that, like 15 years better ago. So, and more of a darker voodoo feel to the way they approached spiritualism. They're kind of like swamp people, so to speak. I liked them. I liked how they were kind of mysterious, and they had a real deep Southern drawl. And the neighborhood kids called me Mr. Ben, and I loved that shit. That was cool. And all the kids would get out and play soccer ball together, but ultimately, it seemed like they had a much more homey feel. They were more community oriented in the sense that all the kids got to play together, and when there was an issue, they would talk about it, and there was no hard feelings or judgments or anything like that because of what a child may have done or whatever. And it was a really good town. I really liked that place. Wisconsin, they're a little more withdrawn and liberal with a lot of their things, but they're still yet conservative in the family values area. But they love to drink pretty much, and smoke pot, and do coke sometimes. They like, I don't know, I just didn't really get into much of that up there. I just smoke weed and drink beer there. And that's kind of how they are. They're just like, they don't have bars, they have taverns. There are bars like in the bigger cities and stuff, but I lived way up north, almost in Canada, and they're woods people. They respect their land, and they take better care of cleaning things up, not throwing trash everywhere. They don't, maybe it's because all the trees, but they don't run power lines in the air, except for in some places. But almost everywhere they're underground because it looks bad. Plus probably all the trees. Anyway, my point is, and those people up there, we're all Catholic. Pretty much everybody's Catholic there. So my point being, and here in Amarillo, it's kind of diverse, actually. There's every different, kind of race and religion and background and ethnicity here. But everybody's so nosy. They want to be all up in your business. It's cutthroat with any type of professional work that you do. There's always somebody trying to undercut you. It's been, I don't know how many years since I framed houses, and they're still paying like $2.15 a square foot, and the prices of housing has gone up. Hello. and they're still paying the same to builders here. That's crazy, man. That's somebody having control of the market. That's what that is. That's supply and demand. Economics 101. You know, how come nobody does something about that? How come all these framers don't get together and make a union or something? I mean, I don't advocate unions very much, but I mean, that's why they started, was for situations like that. And they just started to spin out of control. Then it became about, you know, well, you're going to have to pay us so that we can get you all these good things and blah, blah, blah. And that's never what it was about. It was just about doing what was right. That's it, just doing what was right. This is a movie town. Things that happens, you know, things that happen in the movies happen in this town. I mean, I have seen some things that I may talk about at a later date that you're like, I feel like I might be in the movie Training Day right now. And everybody is a snitch. Everybody. Just count that, you know, like, everybody's a snitch these days. It used to be, you know, like a code of ethics among criminals that you would not rat on somebody. I mean, that'd get you blacklisted in this town. It used to, you know, or worse. And now, I believe the saying that I've heard here recently is, you know, everybody's got to get got. Everybody's got to get got. You know, or get them before they get you. There's no criminal organization, and I think the cops did that on purpose. I say the cops. The powers that be did that on purpose, because what it did is it took away your upper level, your mid level, and your street level, you know, crime syndicates. It busted them all up to where there's not really been anybody in control for quite a few years now. And they flooded the market with methamphetamines, and heroin's getting real popular here. And then because of the overstocking of all these drugs, they got so cheap that, you know, a street level guy could go to anybody and get the same price that their dealer got, you know. So everybody wanted to be a drug dealer. And what it did was got a lot of people off the street. They arrested a whole bunch of people. They're still arresting a whole bunch of people. But what you got out of that was a whole bunch of snitching. Because that's how they get their information. They don't get it from hard police work. Shit, come on, man. Have you ever seen APD out doing the grind? I've had shit stolen from me, a whole trailer full of tools, and known who did it. Told them this is what I think happened, and then later on gave them picture evidence. Look, this right here proves that they had, you know, blah 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 blah, and they didn't do one thing about it. Not nothing, not anything. But you know what they did take down? They made sure to make a deal out of the rented tools that I had that got stolen also. You know, a floor drum sander and a airless sprayer. And, you know, those aren't cheap tools. It was like probably $4,000 worth of tools. But because they were rentals, that's all he was concerned about. If I didn't have receipts and serial numbers of anything else, it was unfindable, unsearchable. You know, like, you'll never find it. And we're not even going to try. But they probably got to that attitude because there's so much theft in this town. So much theft. You know, there's... And I can't stand a thief, especially steal a man's tools and shit. I've seen people open up a trunk like, yeah, we just hit a lick, and they got every single tool that this electrician had ever bought. You know, that's his livelihood right there. There's so much money wrapped up in that shit, and you know what they're gonna get for it? An 8-ball or some shit like that. You know? Have you been in a pawn shop lately? They're stuffed full to the gills, but they're still buying shit. You want to know where your tools are? They're at the pawn shop. You know, that's always where they end up at. Eventually, you know, so many hands later, can you really point at anybody and say, oh, that's receiving stolen property, because it's already switched hands 19 times. So anyway, when I was in that world, I wouldn't take stuff if I felt like it was stolen. Brand new stuff, not unless you got a receipt. You know, I used to buy up broken electronics, you know, for like e-scrap purposes, and you have a hard time doing that because there's people out there looking for hard drives and any kind of information they can steal identities with. So a lot of times all that was missing, but cell phones and laptops and printers and all kinds of stuff, and I want to start doing it again. But back then I would barter, so I had all kinds of tweakers bringing me tons of broken electronics, but I never accepted anything that was new, that still worked, that, you know, that was functioning. I didn't want any. I want broken stuff, or if it's really old and outdated, you know, like you can tell nobody's touched it in 20 years, you know, that's fine too. If it's not worth anything, that's what I want. The stuff that's worth less, you know. But I don't guess anybody thinks like that anymore, you know. And then on top of it, right off the bat on the street, if you buy something, it's going to be 50% of retail value for a used whatever you got. And then if they think it's stolen, they're going to cut that in 50, you know, cut that in half. So really you're down to 25% of the value. And if somebody's trying to get drugs for whatever they've stolen, then they're going to get even less, because you're desperate and you're stealing for drugs, and that plug you got knows it, and he's going to take advantage of it, because that's what they do. They make money because of your disadvantage. So anyway, you know, I'm not knocking drug dealers, because, you know, you got to do what you got to do, and I don't judge anybody based on what they do, but I judge as a whole this town for letting this darkness take over our city. And it's stupid, because everybody sees it. Everybody knows what's going on. Ain't nobody dumb to what, you know, but nobody ever says nothing about it. Except me, maybe. Maybe there are others. And I'm not trying to change the world, or take down no crime syndicate, or badmouth the police here, or anything like that. I'm just trying to be straight up about what's going on here.